Okay.
All right, so chapter 4, we are making our way through the book.
Let them stress you out.
Yes, let them, let them, let them, let them. I'm trying to find it's funny when you record, it doesn't let you actually minimize the screen. I think my screen dropped. So let me see if I can grab my notes here. Yep. Isn't that funny? Just lost it all. I think
Oh no.
operator. That's okay. It's good. I got it. I got it.
Mm.
So I wanted to start today with because the chapter dives right in about work stress, and I say to my clients quite often, quite frequently, and they'll agree that on the word stress. They'll go talk in just regular terms and give me context about what's going on in their life. And they'll talk about work stress or relationship stress or stress. And so, what I found fascinating, I did this a long time ago and I have this saved. The Oxford Dictionary definition of stress is a state of mental and emotional strain. There is no cause for stress, it's merely a state of mind. Stress is
Mm.
an inside out, not an outside in. This part's mine. The stress is inside
Right.
out, not outside in. Seeing and experiencing how we recreate our reality from the inside out can completely change your perspective on how resilient we can be. So oftentimes I'll have clients that label things. They'll put themselves on a label or in a label, or someone else that they're connected to or in love with or in a relationship with. That could be work, family, whatever. But they'll put labels, and stress is a label, anxiety is a label.
Mhm.
And what it does is it kind of limits us, right? We kind of start especially our brain loves labels. It loves titles, and especially something with a negative connotation, because our brain goes into defense mode. Like, how do I defend myself? How do I protect my human? And when we state that we are stressed or have stress, our brain like instantly starts searching for, how do I get safe? So I found the Oxford Dictionary definition to be fascinating. It really points to um, yeah, it's a state of mind, really is just to summarize it in just a couple of words. It is a state
Hmm.
of mind. Yeah. Humans love to point fingers, blame and complain and label and justify and give excuses. And yeah, and then all that is pointing outwards, which makes us victim, right? It makes us martyr. It makes us small victim, puppet, when everything else is our puppet master. So it creates this perception, this belief that the world is out to get us, right? That it's not me, it's them. Uh, so I found, kind of just right out the gate on this chapter, that was something I wanted to share. She states also, or Mel states, don't worry. I'm sorry, don't worry. Don't allow work stress to stress you out. Whenever we give anything, a person, for instance, or a job, or person, place, thing, situation, or circumstance, is what I always say, the power to make us happy, we paradoxically give them the power to make us sad. So I'll say that again. If we
Mm.
give anything, like I mentioned, I think on chapter 1 or somewhere along the line, if we weigh ourselves in the morning and we have this belief that the scale can make us happy or sad, or sorry, if the scale, when it goes down, it'll make us happy. If the scale goes up,
Mm-hmm.
it'll make us sad. If we give anything outside of us the power to make us sad or happy, paradoxically, we give it the power to get the other way around. The other metaphor that I've been using a lot lately is like a light switch. So if you believe that having someone in your life, meaning, oh, once I fall in love with someone, they will make me happy, you also give them that light switch, that power switch to make you happy, sure, but you also give them the power to make you sad. So she points to this a lot in the book, and I'm not at least for me, it rings really loud and clear. So that's why I enjoy going through this book review, because it's really kind of pulling together her language and my language in a way that's kind of fun and maybe expansive or whatever. Sometimes what she says might land or what I say might land. And so I think that makes it fun. We can't expect other people, jobs, or anything to regulate our emotions. And I think that, and believe me, I fell for all of this for most of my life. I thought when I was recognized at work, or once I made a certain achievement, it was going to make me happy. Once I made my body look a certain way, it would make me happy. Once I got that car, it would make me happy. Once I got whatever, I felt like I will be happy when was like the story of my life. And it was just like the end of this rainbow that I was constantly chasing. I don't know if you've ever seen a rainbow before in real life, but it moves.
Right.
It's cool. It moves fast. It's super fast. But it was metaphorically, when I saw that, I think it was like 14 or whatever. I thought that was wildly interesting. Like, it moves. And
Huh.
I kind of feel like I was that way majority of my life. Like, I'm chasing the end of this rainbow. I will be happy when I have the movie version, my life looking like a movie and everything's perfect. So emotional regulation, I looked up the Oxford Dictionary definition of that. It says it is the ability to manage and respond to your emotions. It can involve conscious or unconscious processing. What does emotional regulation include? It includes monitoring, evaluating, and modifying emotional reactions, initiating, inhibiting, or modulating your state or behavior. I know that's a big mouthful, but how I
Wow.
would
Yeah.
translate that is, emotional regulation is being aware of your emotions. What is the cause of your emotions? Where do your emotions come from? I'll give you a hint. They don't come from outside of you. The people, the places, the things, the situations or circumstances, they don't come from outside of you. It looks like it. It definitely appears that way, but it's not true. One of the things I wanted to share tonight was, I want to make sure if anybody else has joined. Nobody's joined yet. It's okay. Linda's here with me.
Yes.
My oldest daughter, she might kill me if she ever finds out I share this story. Of course, I shared a story last week about her, my oldest daughter. But I will never forget this time when, I don't remember where we were. I don't really remember the landscape of where we were, but she was probably 14. Let's see, how old is she right now? So maybe she's 15, 16. She had been 15, 16. She was playing with our dog. We have a Boston Terrier. For those of you that don't know about Boston Terriers, they're black and white, predominantly black. She was playing with him, blah, 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 whatever, having fun. And I was sitting next to her. And then all of a sudden she had this scream, like she screamed, like, oh my God, and just freaked out. Teenage girl. I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Like, she screamed like it was like something terrible just occurred. And I'm sitting very close to her. And she's like, oh, my eyelashes have fallen out. When the truth was, she was wearing white and she just got done playing with our dog with the black short
Black.
hair. She had them all over her shirt. And as a teenager, looks female, looks, I guess all teenagers, looks are very important. And she just beautiful eyelashes. And she was horrified for that split second that all of her eyelashes fell out. So again, it's like that wasn't real, right? The story that she formed really quickly in her brain wasn't real. It was a quick assumption, a quick story, and she was in it, right? The illusion was that all her eyelashes fell out, and instantly she kind of put it together afterwards, and it was funny. But notice that it's the stories, the thoughts, the beliefs that we have that we create in that moment in time that had her frightened, scared, freaking out. But very funny now. But it's not exterior, right? It's not the situation or the circumstance, it's the thoughts. The thoughts we think, we feel, then we act. Think, feel, act. Think, feel, act millions of times a day. And once you realize that, once you see that, then you basically hacked your brain. You know how to train your brain to work for you. Right. So
Yeah.
emotional intelligence is something that I love this space. Emotional intelligence is something that I find incredibly fascinating. And I believe when you understand it really well, it could be your greatest superpower. So I believe it's more imperative than a person's IQ. Okay.
Hmm.
So Oxford Dictionary definition is the ability to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions. It also includes the ability to handle relationships with others in an empathetic and judicious way. So I think that personally, this is my opinion, I believe that emotional intelligence having a very strong superpower of being able to, I don't like the word control your emotions, but I like to be able to command my emotions. We
Hmm.
are human beings. We all have our insecurities. We all get tripped up. I'm not perfect. But I do like that it really points to understanding your own emotions and others that you have in your life. But Mel goes on to talk about Dr. Aditi, and I think that's throughout the book that she talks about
Hmm.
Dr. Aditi. Yep. Stating that we are in an age of chronic stress and not having firm personal boundaries. I always add the word personal boundaries. Um, and we don't know when to log off, right? We're working 24/7. Um, and then she asked about in a paragraph, she goes, is it the job's fault? Okay, again, that's blaming and complaining, that's pointing the finger externally, it's blaming something else for your emotions. It's not taking ownership of your own emotions, right? It's giving the power away, the light switch, the on and off to the job, right? Which would be a situation or a circumstance. um, some people are working 80 plus hours a week. And I've had many employees over the years, and there's several employees that really stand out in my mind that had very strong personal boundaries. And I just was fascinated by them back then, even before I really got into personal development. I'd kind of watch them in a way of like, look at them, right at 6 o'clock, bam, boom, computer's off, and they're grab their purse and they're out. There's no small talk. There's no, hey, what are you
Right.
doing for the weekend? Boom, they're out the door and gone. Like, I mean, you just see the door boop, boop, and dust behind them. Like they leave work at work, they shut down. But I mean, they were super recharged when they came back the next day or the Monday or whatever the next work day was. They were always fully charged, alert, did their jobs. They dotted I's and crossed T's. And I really appreciated that because they also complained very minimally or never.
Hmm.
They really created a dynamic in their life. And this is something I've said to many people, and they always get really shook by it. But really working 8 hours a day, playing 8 hours a day, and sleeping 8 hours a day. And people are like, you can do that? Yes, you can. This is your life. You have the power, you have the choice. And I know that Mel talks about that all the time in this book, and she really in this chapter talks about it. um but when we give our power away, in essence giving that job the ability to make us feel a certain way, it's disempowering. This also keeps us in the thinking and believing that our emotions come from outside of us, right? Having that job or having that relationship or having that car is going to make us happy. That's such a horrible, devastating way of living. I will also include that we get off of work after 8 hours plus a week and we turn to our friends and family and commiserate and collude with them. Of course, they're going to take your side and amplify the fact that your boss is a jerk or how, and they're going to take your side, right? That's what colluding is choosing a side and taking what information they're given, which is always fragments of reality, and it's oftentimes skewed towards the author.
Hmm.
And they are going to say your boss is a jerk for sure. They know very limited information, and it really disempowers you. as a person. It really keeps you powerless. It keeps you stuck in these beliefs and these stories. And as your brain loves to find what's causing, could cause suffering, could cause death to you, really is all your brain really cares about. It doesn't care if you're happy. But when you believe that something is bad and terrible and going on, your brain loves that. It will continue to look for proof and evidence that everything around you is dangerous. And that to me is chronic stress. That is your brain working super hard to protect you, your brain working super hard to serve and keep you safe. So that to me is kind of my angle, my come from on that piece. I have a few more notes and then I'd love to hear from you, Linda. But anytime we feel something, anything is right or wrong, right? Someone's right, someone's wrong,
Mhm.
someone's good, someone's bad, which basically says that someone is better than the other. Anytime that we say that something is fair or unfair, something is above or something is below, uh, life is full of paradoxes, the yin and the yang, right? And again, that's that light switch, up and down, good and bad, right or wrong, fair, unfair. We're giving our power away. And this continues to build on that story that our emotions come from outside of us when it's not true. Like my daughter, it's not true. It's the stories that we create in our brain. It's our imagination that makes it look real and appears to be so real. And that's what makes us powerless. It's suffering up here. Something that was said to me last week was, what if you didn't have any thought? What would you feel? You would feel nothing.
Mhm.
So think about that, right? So who is responsible for your life, right? Or your career, as Mel talks about. She talks about it kind of in a couple of different ways. You are, right? She flat out says, you are. If you're waiting for something in your life to change to be happy, that leaves you suffering, right? That leaves you feeling, I'll be happy when. It keeps you in this state of suffering. I won't be happy until X. And really, that's unfortunate because until then, if you ever get X, that means you're not happy. Again, that's that light switch. You're believing that happiness is outside of you. Your happiness is in a title, a label, or whatever. Mel, as Mel puts it, stop being mad and do something about it, right? Generate your
Mhm.
happiness now, right? You're not a tree, get up and move, make a decision. So as she puts it over and over again, like you're letting your emotions get the best of you, that imagination can really run wild. And again, that's your brain serving you. Whenever I work with clients that get really, really emotionally charged with lots of different things, I know that this person has such a brilliant mind. Like they have such a brilliant mind. The people that come to me, which actually I can't think of a single time that that's happened, that just really just kind of and have no feelings and no emotions, to me would probably present someone that doesn't have a big lit up brain, right? Like they just don't, not that they don't care, they just I don't know, maybe autopilot through life. But to me, when people get really supercharged and really passionate about things and get really swept up by the imagination, I love to work with these people because they have such an amazing, incredible brain, and that fascinates me. But it is the biggest foundation when working with clients is deepening their understanding of how their brain is serving them. And I want them to see it deeper than the logical level, right? There's a logical level of understanding, oh, okay, like the eyelash story, that logically makes sense. And we can kind of put ourselves in that situation and we see images of what you probably think my daughter looks like, and seeing her, as a teenage girl and thinking her eyelashes have fallen all out and how devastating that must be in that second. But it's really how we are designed. Without thought, we have no experience, right? We're born with brain activity. We are determined dead when our brain activity stops. So
Mm.
understanding how your brain is creating your reality and knowing that everyone's reality is different. So those people that you live with, those people you associate with, those people that you have any kind of communication with, they all have a different reality, like our fingerprints. Everybody's reality is different. They have different experiences, different knowledge. Their brain is serving them and protecting them in a variety of different ways. uh, Mel also talks about when you're in a state of stress, right? Again, an emotional, wait, hold on. What was the Oxford version? It says is a state of mind. So when you're in a state of mind of stress and not able to make powerful decisions, as she says, stupid decisions. I love how she's so bold and kind of a disruptor, and
Mm-hmm.
I use the word stupid small whenever working with a client that wants to take action forward. That could be about anything, right? And we make it together stupid small where they can step over it. Make it really, that's sort of a James Clear thing. I kind of have a spinoff on his. He doesn't call it stupid small, but a small where you can step over it. But anyways, if you've ever been anywhere where there's earthquake prone or hurricane prone or tsunami prone areas, there'll be signs that basically say, stay calm.
Right.
Stay calm. Or, I also thought of, stop, drop, and roll as we were taught as kids with fire stuff. It's really about anything when it involves tragic events, it's about staying calm. And I do believe that as human beings, when we make decisions from a place of calm, we can see a lot more options. We find that we have more solutions. We can look at infinite number of ways to navigate things. But when we're in a state of stress or fear or anger or rage or upset, we really oftentimes don't see any options, right? It's that tunnel vision. We get really clouded. We get really and then we react from old wiring, old blueprints, from what we witnessed as a kid or what we've seen throughout our life. And that's old wiring, old conditioning. But if we practice in small events in our life, like driving in traffic or anything that happens at the grocery store, just like small little incremental things, learning how to make decisions from a place of calmness, we'll have the tools, we'll have the experience, and we'll have the neural pathways or wrinkles in your brain that that you can resort to and have a calmness, be able to calm your brain down and make a decision from a calm state.
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on things in your life that are outside of your control, she talks about that as well in chapter 4. I always talk about with clients when they talk about the past and the future and the past and the future. I mean, I will get into some conversations with clients that they ping pong ball back and forth, past, future, past, future, past, future. And I'm like, time out. We're not in the past and we're not in the future. We're here in this moment. We just have got to focus in on here and now. Being here, being present, is where we're going to find that peace of mind, that calmness. That's where we're going to make our best decisions. When we are in the past, which is done and over with, we can't change it. Again, that creates that powerlessness, that creates that stress, that mental state, a low mental state, and we're kind of in fear, right? We make decisions from our past, not always benefits us. We make decisions now that we fear in the future, we don't always make the best decisions. So I believe that it's mental suffering. And I think that Mel's really pointing to that, is really, making decisions from here and now. I think I only have 2 more things. When we, again, practice colluding with our friends and family, even though they're well-meaning and they mean well, they want to give us their advice. Um, it just, it keeps us focused in, honed in on the problem, right?
Mm.
When
Yeah.
it reinforces the problem because we're kind of like taking a magnifying glass and we're exploding it. We might be using a lot of words to describe how miserable it is, our job or whatever, our relationship or whatever our situation is. And our family and friends are going to find the villain in the story. and find the hero, and try to, and what they're going to do is they're going to validate your feelings, which everyone's feelings are valid. Okay.
Mm.
So validating someone's feelings is agreeing that their way of thinking and believing in that situation generates a feeling. That's valid, right? If I was thinking what you were thinking in that moment, if I am believing what you are believing in that moment, I'm surprised you're not madder than you are. It's a great statement. That's not saying what they're saying is right or wrong or good or bad or what you would do or unfair or fair. It doesn't mean any of that. All it says is, wow, you got a thinking problem. No, I'm just kidding. What it means is what they are thinking and believing is valid, right? So, this is where coaching comes in. And I know that Mel, does some form of coaching. I think she's more in the speaker type arena, but it's a thinking problem. It's a thinking and believing problem. And our friends, again, and family, well-meaning, keep us stuck. They keep us fixating on the problem. Where Mel is pointing us to with this theory, the let them and let me, the let me theory part of it is moving you from fixating on the problem, like your friends and family are going to have you doing, and focusing on a solution and opportunity and having you move forward. So that's really shifting your focus. That's what coaching is about. That's what a life coach does. They are a thinking partner. They don't collude. They don't take her side. A good coach won't, anyways. They will seriously look at what the thinking and believing problem is and help you see it, shine a light on it. And some clients are not ready to see it. Some clients are not wanting to hear the hard truth, the reality of what's going on.
Mhm.
Collude with them. Come on, jump on my team. And but the reality is that keeps them as a victim, that keeps them stuck, that keeps them also dependent on me. Right? Because when we commiserate, when we collude with people, you get a hit of dopamine, you get an excitement, you get some adrenaline, like, I've got a villain in my story and I am the victim. Right? So it's super dangerous. It's a slippery slope. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been drawn to this book is the fun of this is such a simple statement that can be remembered, let them, let me, and it's choosing to stand in your power. It's choosing for you to take ownership of how you want to feel, right? It's standing still and going, how do I want to feel right now? I'm going to let them be a jerk, and I'm going to let me calm down, come from a state of empowerment and find a solution. And oftentimes there's many, 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 many options, many, many solutions. And when you come from a state of mind, a peace of mind, a calm state of mind, you can see, how can I pivot? What can I do? What are my options? And oftentimes that's testing, trying things out, and then seeing what works and what doesn't. Hi,
Mhm.
Callie. But I want to hear from you, Linda. Why don't you give me, what your takeaway is from what I said from the chapter 4, and then we'll let Callie jump in.
Right. Well, chapter 4 was very um, personal for me right now. And, I definitely can say over the last 2.5 years with my job, I've been, I, I have been letting them control my emotions because I could never say no. And when you work remote, you I thought, well, I have a phone. They can contact me. Dare not. I have a computer. I work from home. I always made myself available. Then, when the time came where I had to pull back, it was hard because they were so accustomed to dare not, whatever it was, call Linda, text Linda, do this, do that. So um, it, I can see now that I let them do this to me. I cannot get mad at them for doing what I allowed to happen. So, today, great example. I got home, the texts were going off. I'm off the clock. I looked at it and my hackles raised just a little bit, but then I thought, nope, turned the phone off and thought, tomorrow,
Mhm.
tomorrow. And I'll tell him, no, tomorrow. So it's, that felt really good.
Ooh.
So, yeah, it felt good. So, yes, a lot. I think I used the word today, stress, um, for how I was feeling, but that was not anything to do with stress that I felt coming from an external factor such as work. That was more of my own internal mind going a gazillion miles an hour. What if, what if, what if? And we talked about that, and I calmed myself down and said, movement. I need movement. I need to be active. I need to take care of myself. I cannot let an unknown impact me on a daily basis. So, um,
So what I
yeah,
hear
so
is it's important to you to work out or get some physical movement, and that allows you to sort through those feelings, right? The illusion, it gives you that calmness, right? That time, that space, that ability to kind of move away from the phone, take that time,
right,
do something for yourself. And what I love about exercise is it really helps me go inside, is the way I like to describe it. And I think other people have different ways of describing it, but for me, it's a meditation, right? Because I'm counting, I'm concentrating on a muscle, or I'm concentrating on my breath, or sometimes even challenging myself. And it really, sometimes I get surprised at how strong I can be in endurance, or of moving a weight, or how many reps I can
mhm,
do. And I really appreciate working out in a way that I do tune everything out. Like I leave
right,
life for anything on the outside of the door, wherever it is, whether it be at home or at the gym. It's just this really beautiful thing. So, but what I hear and what you're sharing too is some growth, really setting that personal boundary and saying, I'm not working, I'm gonna turn the phone off. Because here's the reality is like I'll send a text and I'll know that they're going to respond the next opportunity that they have. I don't have any
right,
expectations for anybody to text me back right away, and that includes, I guess, sort of work. But um so yeah, that's what I hear, is definitely honoring and prioritizing your um what's like the 8 hours, right? The 8 hours of work, which I know, knowing you're not working 8 hours a day, but having these blocks, like I work X number a day, time hours a day, and then I play 8 hours a day, and then I sleep 8 hours a day. Optimally, that would be the perfect world. How do we get
right,
there?
right, right. So yeah, I like that this chapter because it was kind of like a aha. I'm mad about it, but I am letting it happen. So the only person I can be mad at is me for allowing that, them, whether it be work, family, the person at the grocery store, the neighbor tailgating me all the way out to Whitmore Hill Drive. Um, I'm responsible, not them, not all that. So
Yeah,
it
because you
was
have a
good.
choice to pull over or you have a choice to slam on the brakes. Just kidding. Um, one of the things I know about relationships, any kind of relationship, when we overperform, the other one naturally underperforms.
Hmm.
And I see that in a lot of caregiving type of individuals. So nurses, first responders, mothers, that's the hardest job on the planet. And so when we really have this presence about us that we say, call me anytime, let me know if you need anything, I'm always here for you, let me, we extend that out and we repeat that out all the time. And then there are certain types of people that will overuse that, abuse it, manipulate it. And then there's a segment of people that use it and to the extent that they don't realize that it creates suffering in you, right? Meaning that you're saying yes to them and saying no to like working out or doing those things that really
Yeah.
prioritize your mental emotional health, but it's not their fault, right? It's again goes back to us. What do I need? Creating boulders in our schedule for a week, or some clients I have to work on a daily basis. Like, let's just work on one day. Let's put boulders in your schedule that honor your mental, emotional, and physical health first, foremost, absolutely. And then let life trickle in between those boulders. Not, and that's it. And if there's no room, then I'm sorry, my plate is full, and no is a full sentence.
Right. And one last thing I wanted to say for people, especially women in my age group, and really for all women, we have had to fight so hard to be heard, whether it's in the job, you know, out in society. I have I have always felt I've had to work that much harder to get maybe what my counterpart, who might have been male, and I'm not anti I'm not discriminatory at all against men. Um, but I have just seen that in my career, you know, perform, 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 perform to get, you know, to get noticed, to get ahead, to get that salary, to get that, to that next level. And um, we I did it in school. I did it as a mother. I did it as a wife. I do it as a grandma. I do it. And it's okay to say, no, no, that does not work for me. It took me a long time to get to that point and feel like I was putting my physical, mental self not first, not above, but I was paying attention to it. And quite quite a nice place to be finally, after many, many years. So, and having support, a great support system has been just more than I could ask for.
Mm, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Aw.
So,
Yeah, that gives me goosebumps. I feel like, as you pointed out, your generation was a trailblazer. There were some major changes in my career too. Absolutely, 100%. Like it was, the women were put into a room at conferences and stuff like that. They would give us a lunch, a special lunch, and all the men could go fend for themselves. And I remember they pushed three little tables together and we just kind of circled around and they had a speaker come and year after year after year, the room got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it was a ballroom, my last
Mm.
trip. All women, they continued that tradition on. And I do truly honestly believe that I got shoved through the door because I was a young female. I fit that mold of my personality test was what I was told was over the moon, and it was, who knows, probably just because I was wearing a skirt, but that's okay. Um, I took it and ran with it and did very well.
Right.
But yeah, it does. It is interesting that, and I think that too, if you look at generations before, there is some conditioning, and how we do one thing is how we do
Right.
all things. And you pointed that out too, is, overperforming in more than one area of your life. And, certainly I think that things have tilted a little bit. In fact, I looked at my industry, insurance agent industry, my previous industry, and it's now 64, 65% women. So it's tilted the other way now. So I don't know. Well, I want to hear from Callie. What's your takeaway, or what you're hearing from us, or what you want to share on chapter 4?
I mean, yeah, it's all super relatable. I think I've set my life up in a totally different way at this point, but I have absolutely, like, lived through everything Linda said, the overperforming and being available at all sorts of hours. And like, I would wake up and, I was supervising a big team, and, the first thing I would do is check my phone to see if there's going to be any call outs, because it's going to be my responsibility to fill in the gaps. And I mean, it was like I would just wake up and I would be hit with like a wave of anxiety the moment my eyes opened, and it just that would set the tone for the whole day. And it was not good. It was not good for me. It really impacted my health over time. And but it was me, like I was the one who was allowing that to happen. Looking back, like I could have said no. It's always my choice. What's the worst that could happen? They say, well, we'll find somebody else to do it. All right, well then, then I'll be in a position to find something else to do myself, right? And I mean, that's eventually what happened, in the sense that I eventually decided that it was not going to work for me. It was not going to continue working for me. It was going to kill me. And so, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate at this point, the ability to set my schedule, and also to be super cognizant in setting my schedule of what my priorities are overall, and going at it from that perspective. Like, yes, my health is important to me. Yes, making time for my husband is important to me. So I weave that into my daily schedule, and I plan around that so that it happens, and there's not like it's just the leftover time at the end of the day when you're too tired and then it doesn't happen at all. So I think it really is like, really realizing it is your choice. And if you don't like it, change it. And I mean, even still, I have a tendency to think of like, how do I change the other person? But eventually I work back around to, oh, wait, I can't change the other person no matter what it is. I can only change my behavior. So, how do I want to deal with this? And, figure it out from there. If that limits your options, well, that's the options that exist. Changing the other person was never an option anyways.
Mm.
Oh, I love that. That is really cool. I always tell my client, you have two options. They're like, what? Only two options? I'm like, yeah, you either change something or you accept it, right? Make peace with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
it.
it.
It's very really funny. My husband, he I don't like the way he drives, right? And I drove home. He brought me home from the airport yesterday. I was all the way from San Francisco, and I live in Santa Cruz, so it's a pretty good drive. And the whole time I'm like gripping the armrest, like, and I've learned not to argue. But then today we had to make a drive, and I was like, I don't want to do that again. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just say, I'm driving.
Yeah.
And that's how I handle it.
I'm gonna drive. You
I'll
get the
drive
big
today.
break.
Yeah, I'll drive today.
Oh, that's really good. That's great.
That's what I have control over, right? I'm not going to change how he drives.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I can either just not make the trip at all with him, or I could drive.
One of the things as you were sharing about your schedule, how it used to be, me too. Like I was like, same. And I actually shared this conversation with someone just last week that I now live by my Google Calendar. And as I talked about earlier, is I create boulders in my schedule, the things that I block off space that my clients can't book me for, to make sure that these things are taken care of. And like you shared, how do I, because these things that are important to me, my health, my time with my husband. So how do I block that out to ensure that sets me up for success, right? And we can be leaders in our household. It's kind of the flavor that I got from your story, is being the leader and having that time in that space and facilitating it in a way like we're having dinner tonight, together, and make it like a routine and make it something that is fun and inviting and people enjoy and they're drawn to. And so we kind of end up being leaders. But back to the old version, I used to have like that big calendar on my desk. That used to be the way that and I was like, by the end of the month I had coffee on it and food stains and whatever. It was awful, but that was how I ran things. And I did the whole yearly journal thing. Usually about March, I'd stop using it. Every year I'd buy, the folder that had all the months and weeks in it. And usually about March, it would end up on my floor or in the drawer. And that was really how I operated, by the seat of my pants. And yeah, and you're right. You end up at the end of the evening, your family gets your scraps, your leftovers. They get just like the remnants of you. And I've shared this, I think, before in this book review. I used to think it was a competition at night to see who had the worst day. It was just so focused on the negative, right? It was so, and I don't know why, but at some point, this is actually before I got into self-development, I got kind of tired of it and was like, why don't we talk about like what you learned today? What'd you guys discover? What was today like? And good stuff. And I just naturally did that. And everybody followed, kind of like what you're saying, just be like the household leader and lead by example and model and facilitate and create ways to pivot, and model those things that are important to us.
Yeah, those dinner conversations where it's just, everybody's crises of the day. Like, oh God. And you're reliving, whatever that traumatic, stressful situation was in the day, just like reinforcing it, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said earlier, is the colluding and the commiserating. We actually get a dopamine hit. We actually get like a spike of oxytocin when we share it with somebody and they, agree with the villain in the story and they get all involved in the story and they make you right and the other person wrong. And it really just triggers our brain. That's, again, like you said, like you're reliving it and it reinforces and gives you more evidence and proof that you're right, they're wrong. And your brain sees this as you got to defend yourself. You could die, and it's really nothing. It's again that, your family's getting fragmented stories. They're getting your version of the story, your illusion of what happened. Not to say that it's not true. It's just, I've learned over the years that I really deeply enjoy being wildly fascinated with my husband. He'll still tell me stories that I'm like, who are you? I don't even know who you are. Like, when did you do that? Like, he's so deep. He has such depth and richness that it's like, I just open up a new door and then I find out, he knows something else new and fascinating. And so for me, I find it as like I'm kind of like an explorer, or, just like, what's going to be behind this door tonight? And I just poke around and look for a door almost in our conversation, and then just ask questions from like a child curiosity that's just, tell me more, share, what was that like? And I just keep asking questions, and it's just, I like that so much more.
Yeah. That and getting rid of political conversations at the dinner table.
Yeah, it's we watched a movie a couple nights ago, and he's very much about our rights. He said something about our rights have been taken away or something. He started on that, and I was like, okay. And then I like tried to shift the subject, and he's like, that's okay. And I was like, no, I just said okay, as in we're gonna move to a new topic.
Moving on.
And he laughed, and because he knows that I'm not going down that dark alleyway. Like the okay was like, okay, then thank you for that. We're gonna move over here. He was fine with it. It was funny, but yeah.
Yeah, it's great when you can find something that kind of brings everybody together. In our house right now, it's Eurovision. We all love Eurovision. And so like the actual competition will take place in May, but we're like all invested already with all of the like different countries finals and, watching like who's competing for, Estonia.
What is this? What is this that you're speaking of?
Eurovision is a singing competition that goes all the way back to like the 1950s. They've been putting it on every year since like 1953. And it varies year to year how many European countries are participating. And actually, a few countries that are not European countries participate, like Australia and Israel. But this year it's 38 different countries. And my husband and I are super invested in Croatia in various ways. And last year, Croatia was number 2 in the competition. So that's how we got really interested in it. And, we're out on YouTube, like finding all of the tangents and all the rabbit holes that you can go down. It's like, there's people who are like just huge Eurovision fans. So they're like, if you start looking, there's tons and tons and tons out there, but it's super fun and it's high energy and it's high vibe, and it's just like, even my kids, they come and they have, their opinions about the different acts, and it's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
I love that it's involves creativity. I love that it involves culture and it brings people together. I mean, that's anything creative that really activates what I like to call the right side of your brain. I feel like we need more things like that. And I'd never heard of this, so it kind of reminds me of like The Voice or something like that, but on a whole new level that's got such richness and culture and history. So that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. That's fun.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, guys, any final thoughts? Or sorry, Callie, I rambled on for about 30 minutes at the beginning. I shared a brief story that I use a lot for my coaching, and it's a real story. My oldest daughter, we have a Boston Terrier, a black and white dog with the short hair. And I think she was like 14, 15, 16, somewhere in that range. And she was playing with him, sitting next to me. Don't even remember where this was, but she's sitting next to me and playing with him, and he got off or whatever. And she screams and she gets all upset and emotional, and just like the world is crashing. And I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, you were just sitting there playing with the dog, and like all of a sudden it's like terrified scream. And she's like, oh, my eyelashes have fallen out, because she had like a white top and like black hair. It wasn't so much that it looked like not possible, but it was just enough sprinkled all over her shirt. And as a teenager girl with beautiful, perfect eyelashes, thought for that split second that the world, and I was pointing to the fact that our brain, our mind, our imagination can just really take over. It can really make us think and feel something that's not real. And anyways, it's kind of a good story to kind of, reflect on that. She'll probably kill me if I have this out on YouTube, but it's okay. Hi, your mom.
It's a cute story.
That is a good story. That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Well, I think our kids teach us a lot, and so do our pets. Like, I talk a lot, and I talked a little bit at the beginning about how our brain really works to serve us. Like our brain is very well meaning, you know, the illusions, the stories, the stress that it generates and creates. It's serving us. It doesn't give a shit if we look amazing, hot, sexy, doesn't care if we're happy. It just keeps us safe. And it's fascinating is my Boston Terrier, Tux. He's a senior. He's about to turn 11, and he fascinates me. I learned so much about him because to me, he's like just a little brain moving around in the house, right? He's just constant. He's anxious. He's an anxious dog too, so that amplifies things. But I'm constantly reassuring him and letting him know that he's safe. Like I feel like that's my job, and I do believe that that's what we as human beings could learn from, and think of your brain as something to reassure that I'm safe, I'm okay, I hear you, thank you for that message, thank you for that stressful thought, I hear you, I'm acknowledging you, right? Talking to your brain as if it's like a child or a dog, right? It's just reassuring it that you are okay, that I'm going to find some calmness and peace, go work out, walk in nature, weed whack, whatever, and find a solution from a place that's calm, from a state of mind that empowers me versus a fearful, anxious, worried, which is all just a state of mind. I think that's what Mel points to over and over and over again in such a simplistic way. And like when I'm in coaching, I make things stupid easy, stupid simple, third grade easy, so people can apply it and see and reap the rewards, to apply it in their own life and experience it versus taking my word for it.
Right. Right. Yeah, being in a calm state definitely helps make decisions.
Yeah, I'll have to share stories. Like one of them, I won't share it tonight, but in the future, I'll jot down a note. But we were in Hawaii when that text message came through that missiles heading your way.
Oh,
I forget
yeah.
the word of it now, but yeah, we were in Hawaii, and it's just interesting to see how my two daughters were with me and my husband, and it's interesting to see how we all responded differently. We've been evacuated for forest fires, we've been evacuated for flooding, and it's fascinating, you know, when you tell people in your household of different ages, go get your valuables, go get things that are important to you and what they bring. You know, it's like interesting, that's what you chose, okay, you know. But again, we're all doing the best that we know how, you know, based on our own experience, our own wiring, our own programming, our own conditioning, what we think is good and proper in that moment. So
Yeah.
Okay, guys, hope you guys will come next week.
Yeah, thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.